The galaxy had long considered itself untouchable. Millions of stars stretched across space, each controlled by powerful races who had learned to dominate their territories. The Council of the Galaxy believed they were rulers of all. Among them, many worlds whispered about Earth, a small blue planet at the edge of their charts. It was primitive, they said, lacking fleets, weapons, or any knowledge of the stars beyond their small system. They did not know how wrong they were. On Earth, life carried on as normal. Cities bustled with humans going about their daily routines, completely unaware of the plans forming in space. But not everyone was ordinary. In secret, humans had been building. Underground, hidden in massive complexes under mountains and oceans, they constructed the most advanced warships ever seen. These ships could move faster than light, fire weapons capable of piercing any known shield, and remain nearly invisible to sensors. Scientists and engineers, led by experts like Daehyun and Hyejin, worked day and night. They had learned from old alien artifacts and rare communications intercepted from the galaxy. Earth was ready. Captain Sumin watched the final adjustments being made to the fleet from the bridge of the largest ship, the Horizon. He felt a mix of pride and nervousness. All their planning, all their training would soon be tested. Beside him, his second-in-command, Lieutenant Jia, checked the status of all systems. The fleet was silent now, engines humming with quiet power, waiting for the command. In the far reaches of the galaxy, the Council of the Galaxy remained unaware. Counselor Laurent sat in his golden chamber, reviewing reports that called Earth nothing more than a curiosity. The Council laughed at the thought of a human fleet capable of challenging them. They had fleets numbering in the thousands, each vessel larger and more advanced than anything Earth could dream of. They did not see the eyes of humans watching, waiting, and ready. Back on Earth, the first warships activated their engines. One by one, they left their hidden docks, emerging into orbit. Earth itself seemed to pause as the fleet moved in formation, silent and deadly. The Horizon led the group, its sleek hull reflecting the light of the sun. Sumin gave the order to jump. In an instant, the fleet vanished from Earth's orbit, leaving no trace for the Council's sensors to detect. When the Council scouts finally noticed something, it was too late. A tiny blip appeared in their outer regions, far beyond where humans should have reached. The Council assumed it was a small exploration vessel. Counselor Laurent chuckled, ordering no immediate response. He believed Earth's ships would be caught easily. But humans were different. Daehyun had designed ships that could move unpredictably, striking from angles no alien fleet had ever experienced. Hyejin had ensured that their weapons could adapt to any shield, any defense, and Jia had trained the crews to think faster than the enemy. They were ready for battle, but their goal was more than fighting. They wanted to change the galaxy's view of Earth forever. The first engagement happened near a patrol station. The aliens, expecting a normal human ship, sent their fighters to intercept. They were confident and arrogant, but the humans had planned everything. Sumin ordered the fleet to split and surround the patrol. In minutes, the station was disabled. The aliens had no idea how the humans had done it. They were faster, smarter, and their attacks were precise. Not one human ship was lost. Word of the attack reached the Council. Panic spread through their chambers. Counselor Taris demanded reinforcements, but the fleet that moved to respond found nothing where the station had been. The humans were gone. The Council's confidence was shaken, and whispers of doubt began to spread. How could such a primitive planet produce such power? Sumin and Jia looked at each other, understanding the weight of their mission. They were not just soldiers. They were symbols of human ingenuity. Every move they made was calculated not to destroy everything but to prove a point. Humans were not weak. Humans were not to be underestimated. The galaxy's illusions of power were about to be shattered. In the following days, the humans continued their maneuvers, appearing in unexpected locations, striking quickly and then disappearing. Each encounter further confused the Council and their fleets. Humans attacked only where necessary, avoiding unnecessary destruction but showing their superiority in strategy and technology. The Council's arrogance began to crumble. Back on Earth, People watched as the fleet sent messages across the galaxy, announcing their presence. Citizens cheered as their world became known as a force to be respected. Sumin, standing on the horizon, felt the responsibility heavy on his shoulders. They had started something that could not be stopped, a movement that would change the galaxy forever. And the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. The human fleet glided silently through the darkness of space, a hidden force moving with purpose. Captain Sumin stood on the bridge of the horizon, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The mission was clear: demonstrate Earth's strength and outsmart the galaxy's ruling council. Beside him, Lieutenant Jia monitored the communications channels, ensuring that every ship remained in perfect sync. The humans had trained for this moment for decades, preparing every move to maximize impact. In the galaxy's outer sector, Counselor Varric paced angrily in his chamber. Reports of strange attacks had reached him, but he refused to believe that humans could be behind them. Each strike had been fast, precise, and unpredictable. It was as if Earth had fleets in multiple places at once. Varric called for his admirals, demanding explanations, but the answers only frustrated him. His fleets were powerful, but they could not seem to anticipate the human tactics. The humans approached a small mining colony on the edge of the outer rim. To the council, it was an unimportant outpost easily defended. The humans, however, saw it as an opportunity to prove their capabilities. Sumin gave the order to approach in stealth mode. The fleet's ships glimmered faintly in the darkness, almost invisible to the sensors of the council's patrols. Every ship moved as one, following exact positions and angles calculated by Lieutenant Minkyu, the tactical officer. When the alien defenders realized they were under attack, it was already too late. The humans struck quickly, disabling the colony's defenses with precision energy beams. The alien ships scrambled to respond, but the humans moved too fast. Using a combination of cloaking and unpredictable maneuvers, the fleet struck at multiple targets simultaneously. Each attack was calculated to cause maximum effect with minimum loss. The aliens were stunned. Their technology could not keep up. Back on the horizon, Sumin watched the attack unfold through the ship's monitors. He remained calm, directing each maneuver with careful attention. Jia relayed commands to the smaller ships, while tactical displays showed every movement of the alien vessels. The humans worked as a single unit, every member knowing their role perfectly. It was a display of coordination and skill that no council fleet had ever witnessed. Counselor Varric's patience was gone. He ordered his fleet to pursue the human ships, hoping to catch them in a trap. The council vessels were fast and armed with powerful weapons, but they lacked the flexibility of the human fleet. Sumin anticipated their moves, directing his ships in unpredictable patterns that forced the aliens to waste energy and resources. Time and again, the humans evaded capture, leaving the council forces frustrated and exhausted. In the council chambers, whispers spread among the members. Some began to question their authority, wondering if the humans were truly as primitive as they had thought. Counselor Thaler refused to admit it openly, but even he could see the humans' power growing with each strike. The illusion of the galaxy's dominance was beginning to crumble, and it frightened the council deeply. The humans continued their campaign, targeting key supply lines and communication hubs. Each strike was measured, avoiding unnecessary destruction, but demonstrating clearly that Earth was no longer a minor player. The attacks were fast, precise, and impossible to predict. Human ingenuity and planning shone brightly, leaving the council fleets scrambling to defend themselves. Every victory reinforced their confidence and skill, and every escape amazed the galaxy. During one engagement, the human fleet encountered a heavily armed patrol led by Admiral Guansik. The alien flagship was enormous, bristling with weapons and shields. Most fleets would have fled or been destroyed, but Sumin saw an opportunity. He ordered a feint, drawing the flagship away from its formation. Then, in a coordinated attack, human ships struck at the ship's weak points, disabling its shields and engines. The flagship fell and the alien fleet scattered. It was a moment that would be remembered for years in the galaxy. Back on Earth, the citizens watched live transmissions of the battles. Children and adults alike marveled at the skill and courage of their fleet. Engineers and scientists celebrated quietly, knowing their work had made this possible. The humans were not only fighting, they were inspiring a planet, showing what determination and cleverness could achieve. In the aftermath of each attack, the Council attempted to analyze human strategies. Their scholars and tacticians could not understand the thinking behind each maneuver. Humans seemed to anticipate every move, turning defensive situations into opportunities for victory. Counselor Varek grew desperate, calling for reinforcements, but the human fleet always seemed one step ahead. Captain Sumin knew that the campaign was more than just battles. Every engagement was a lesson, a message to the galaxy that humans could not be underestimated. Each strike shattered illusions of superiority, forcing the Council to reconsider their view of Earth. It was a war fought not just with weapons, but with strategy, intelligence, and determination. The fleet continued to move deeper into Council space, striking and withdrawing with precision. Lieutenant Jia managed the fleet systems flawlessly, ensuring that each ship operated at peak efficiency. Tactical Officer Mingqiu plotted every course, predicting enemy movements and finding weaknesses to exploit. Engineers like Hanul ensured that weapons, engines, and shields operated perfectly under stress. Every human played a role in their coordinated dance of destruction and strategy. By the time the Council understood the scale of the threat, humans had already moved on to the next target. Supply depots, minor fleets, and communication hubs fell one after another. The galaxy began to whisper about the mysterious human fleet, unable to explain how a so-called primitive planet could perform such feats. Fear and respect began to grow alongside the rumors. Captain Sumin reflected on the campaign so far. Humans had shown skill, courage, and the ability to adapt in every encounter. The Council's arrogance was being shattered piece by piece. The galaxy would soon realize that Earth was no longer insignificant. Humans had arrived, not as an enemy to be dismissed, but as a power to be reckoned with. The Horizon and its fleet continued their silent, deadly advance. Each day brought new challenges, new battles, and new victories. And through it all, humans remained united, coordinated, and unstoppable. The Council could no longer hide behind their illusions of power. The galaxy's perception of Earth had changed forever, and there was no turning back. The galaxy was in chaos. Council fleets scrambled to respond to the human attacks, but each effort ended in failure. Humans seemed to appear everywhere at once, striking and retreating with precision. Captain Sumin guided the fleet through the darkness, moving silently between stars, his eyes always on the screens that tracked enemy movements. Every ship followed his orders perfectly. Lieutenant Jia coordinated communications, keeping the fleet connected even as they scattered across wide distances to confuse their enemies. On a small moon, a Council base attempted to mobilize against the humans. Admiral Heijin oversaw the defense, confident that the Council's advanced weapons would easily stop the attack. But the humans were not ordinary enemies. Sumin had studied every detail of Council strategies, predicting weaknesses that no one else could see. Using fast, unpredictable movements, the human fleet disabled the base's defenses before the Council forces could react. As the battle unfolded, the Council watched helplessly. Counselor Varek could not believe what he was seeing. Humans, a planet he had dismissed as weak, had dismantled one of his strongholds with minimal losses. Every report made him angrier, but he had no solution. The more he tried to anticipate their movements, the faster the humans adapted. It was as if they were always one step ahead. The human strategy was not just about attack. It was about teaching the galaxy a lesson. Sumin wanted every strike to show that humans were not to be underestimated. Tactical Officer Mingqiu calculated every maneuver, finding angles and timing that would maximize effectiveness while minimizing risk. Engineer Hanul ensured that all weapons fired at peak efficiency, and Lieutenant Jia monitored sensors for any threat, allowing the fleet to react instantly to any change. During one engagement, the human fleet faced a larger enemy squadron led by Admiral Dongwook. The Council vessels were heavily armed and confident in their superiority. Sumin smiled slightly, knowing that confidence would be their weakness. The humans split their formation, creating openings that drew the enemy ships in. Once the enemy was overextended, the humans struck simultaneously from multiple directions. Shields collapsed, weapons failed, and one by one, enemy ships were forced to retreat. Counselor Thaler was furious. He called for the galaxy's strongest fleets to unite against the humans. But even with combined forces, the humans moved with unmatched speed and coordination. Each strike targeted the enemy's vulnerabilities, bypassing defenses that had once seemed impenetrable. The Council realized that brute force alone could not defeat this new human fleet. Intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork were far more powerful than numbers. Meanwhile, on Earth, people celebrated the victories. News channels broadcasted reports of human ingenuity and courage. Scientists, engineers, and military leaders were praised for their skill and dedication. Sumin knew that these victories were not just for glory. They were necessary to ensure Earth's survival and future in the galaxy. Every battle strengthened humanity's position, proving that even a small planet could wield incredible power. The human fleet moved to intercept a council convoy carrying supplies and communication equipment. The council had believed that humans could not penetrate their secure routes, but Sumin had anticipated every step. Using stealth and advanced navigation, the humans approached the convoy undetected. In a sudden strike, they disabled the lead ships, forcing the convoy to scatter. Each human ship moved like a shadow, precise and unstoppable. In the council chambers, fear spread among the members. Counselor Varek's advisors whispered about the possibility of humans becoming a major threat to the galaxy's authority. Some began to doubt their own abilities, realizing that they had underestimated a species they once considered insignificant. Thaler tried to maintain control, but even he could see that the human success had shattered the Council's illusions of power. Sumin directed the fleet toward the next target, a communications hub that connected several star systems. Destroying it would create confusion and slow the Council's response. Lieutenant Jia coordinated the attack, while Mingqiu guided each ship to the perfect position. Hanul managed the weapon systems, ensuring that every strike was accurate. The hub was disabled within minutes, leaving the Council fleet struggling to reorganize. Throughout these battles, the humans demonstrated not only skill but discipline. They avoided unnecessary destruction, focusing on strategy and efficiency. Each victory reinforced their reputation, not only as warriors but as thinkers and planners. The galaxy began to see that Earth's people were not primitive. They were intelligent, adaptable, and formidable. Counselor Varek tried to rally his remaining fleets, but the human tactics made every effort ineffective. Sumin's strategies allowed the humans to appear unpredictable, forcing the Council to react rather than act. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike planned with precision. The humans showed the galaxy that victory was not about size or technology alone, it was about using both wisely. As the human fleet moved on, they continued to disrupt Council supply lines, communications, and minor fleets. Each engagement weakened the Council's confidence and strengthened humanity's presence in the galaxy. Sumin, Jia, Mingqiu, and Hanul worked tirelessly, knowing that every decision could change the course of the war. Their teamwork and determination were unmatched, proving that humans were a force to be respected. In the aftermath, whispers spread across the galaxy. Alien worlds that once ignored Earth now watched with caution. Humans were no longer a minor species. They were a power capable of challenging the galaxy's greatest empires. Captain Sumin looked at the stars, knowing that their journey was far from over. The galaxy's illusions had been shattered, and a new era had begun. One where humans would no longer be overlooked or dismissed. The galaxy was beginning to change. Council fleets moved cautiously, no longer certain of their control. Every victory by the human fleet shook their confidence. Captain Sumin stood on the horizon's bridge, calm and focused. Lieutenant Jia watched the sensors, her eyes scanning for any sign of ambush. Tactical Officer Mingqiu studied the positions of enemy fleets, planning the next moves with careful precision. Engineers like Hanul made sure the weapons and engines operated at full efficiency, ready for any battle. The next mission was critical. A council communications hub connected multiple star systems. Destroying it would slow the council's coordination and demonstrate humans' reach. The fleet moved silently through space, each ship positioned with precision. Sumin gave the order, and the fleet approached the hub under the cover of darkness, undetected. Counselor Varek paced angrily in his chamber. Reports came in of yet another strike, this time against a crucial supply route. He could no longer ignore the human skill. The council scrambled to respond, but every plan was met with failure. The humans anticipated each move, striking before the council could react. Panic began to spread among the council members. The attack on the communications hub was swift. Human ships surrounded the facility, firing precision beams that disabled shields and weapon systems. The aliens tried to respond, but the humans moved faster, using stealth maneuvers and unpredictable tactics. In minutes, the hub was neutralized, cutting off communications across several star systems. The council fleet struggled to regroup, frustrated by the human skill and speed. Sumin smiled slightly as the mission succeeded. Every victory was a step closer to proving Earth's power. Jia relayed updates to the fleet, ensuring coordination and efficiency. Minkyu monitored enemy movements, predicting their reactions and adjusting human strategies accordingly. Hanul worked tirelessly, keeping all systems in peak condition. The council's response was desperate. Counselor Thaler ordered reinforcements, hoping to overwhelm the human fleet with sheer numbers. However, the humans had studied their tactics and predicted the move. Sumin directed the fleet to positions that exploited weaknesses in the council formations. Each strike disabled enemy ships and forced retreats, demonstrating that strategy and adaptability could triumph over size and technology. In the midst of the campaign, the humans encountered a heavily armed council fleet led by Admiral Donghyun. The alien ships were confident, believing their strength could crush the humans. Sumin devised a plan to divide and confuse them. The human fleet split into multiple groups, attacking from unexpected angles. The aliens were caught off guard, their formations breaking apart. One by one, their ships were disabled or forced to retreat, humbling the once proud fleet. Back on Earth, citizens followed the news with awe and pride. They saw their people, their technology, and their courage proving that humans could compete with the galaxy's greatest powers. Scientists and engineers celebrated quietly, knowing that their hard work had created this moment. Sumin and his team were aware that each victory had meaning beyond the battlefield. It was about changing perception and demonstrating humanity's value. The human fleet continued its offensive, targeting supply lines, minor fleets, and other strategic points. Every attack was calculated to weaken the Council's control and force them to recognize Earth as a significant power. Sumin knew that their actions were changing the galaxy's balance of power. Each successful strike reinforced humans' reputation as clever, disciplined, and unstoppable. Counselor Varek's frustration grew. No matter how many reinforcements were sent, the humans outmaneuvered them. Even the Council's most experienced admirals could not predict human tactics. Each battle highlighted the humans' superior coordination, intelligence, and adaptability. The illusion of the Council's dominance was slipping away. In one particularly intense encounter, the human fleet faced a fleet led by Admiral Sang-woo, known for aggressive and ruthless tactics. Sumin carefully planned a counter, using deception to lure the enemy into a trap. Human ships attacked from multiple directions, overwhelming the Council vessels. Systems failed, shields collapsed, and the aliens were forced to retreat. The humans' precision and strategy left a lasting impression. Throughout the campaign, the humans emphasized discipline and efficiency. They avoided unnecessary destruction, focusing on strategic targets that would create the most impact. Each victory not only weakened the Council but also inspired respect across the galaxy. Alien species began to realize that Earth's people were intelligent, adaptable, and formidable. The human fleet moved from one mission to another, disrupting communications, supply lines, and minor fleets. Each engagement demonstrated their superiority in strategy, speed, and coordination. Sumin, Jia, Minkyu, and Hanul worked seamlessly together, leading their ships to victory after victory. Humans were no longer seen as a minor species. They were a force that the galaxy had to acknowledge. By the end of this campaign phase, the Council was forced to reassess its assumptions. Their fleets had suffered repeated defeats, their plans outsmarted by humans at every turn. The galaxy's perception of Earth had shifted completely. Humans were no longer the weak, primitive species they once ignored. They were now a rising power, capable of shaping the galaxy's future. Sumin looked at the stars, knowing that their victories were only the beginning. The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson. Humans were to be respected, and their warship fleet was just the start of a new era. The galaxy was quiet in an uneasy way. Council fleets were scattered, communication lines disrupted, and morale shaken. Humans had shown the galaxy that Earth was no longer a minor world. Captain Sumin stood on the bridge of the horizon, looking at the stars ahead. Lieutenant Jia monitored sensors, tracking enemy movements, while Tactical Officer Minkyu planned the next course of action. Engineer Hanul checked the weapons and shields, making sure every system was ready for the final confrontation. The humans knew that the Council would not easily surrender. They planned their decisive strike carefully, targeting the Council's central sector, the hub of its power. Sumin addressed the fleet, speaking clearly and calmly. Every crew member understood the importance of this mission. It was more than a battle. It was a chance to change the galaxy's view of humanity forever. Counselor Varek and Counselor Thaler watched nervously as reports of human movements reached their chambers. Reinforcements were sent, but the humans anticipated every move. The Council fleet prepared for war, but they no longer held the confidence they once had. Their previous victories now seemed fragile compared to the cunning and power of the human fleet. As the humans approached the Council's central sector, they moved with precision and stealth. Sumin directed the fleet to approach from unexpected angles, striking key defense points first. The Council's flagship, commanded by Admiral Donghyun, led the defense. Sumin had studied every detail of their tactics, anticipating weaknesses to exploit. The battle began with a sudden strike. Human ships targeted shields and weapon systems, disabling the flagship's defensive capabilities. The Council forces tried to respond, but the humans moved too quickly, attacking from multiple directions at once. Each strike was calculated to maximize impact while minimizing risk. The aliens were overwhelmed, unable to predict or counter the human maneuvers. Lieutenant Jia coordinated communications across the fleet, ensuring that every ship knew its role and position. Minkyu calculated the trajectories for attacks and evasions, predicting the Council's reactions with incredible accuracy. Hanul kept every system running at peak efficiency, allowing the humans to maintain speed and power throughout the engagement. The Council flagship took heavy damage, and other ships were forced to retreat or surrender. Captain Sumin remained focused, guiding the fleet to strike at every critical point. Humans demonstrated skill, coordination, and determination. Every move highlighted their superiority in strategy and adaptability. The Council's illusions of dominance were shattered completely. On Earth, people watched live feeds of the battle, cheering as their fleet succeeded. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel celebrated quietly, proud that their hard work had created such a powerful force. The humans were not just fighting for victory. They were proving that their intelligence and courage could change the galaxy. The human fleet disabled the Council's remaining defense stations, cutting off supply lines and communication networks. Each success weakened the Council's control and forced them to acknowledge Earth's strength. Sumin's leadership and the fleet's discipline had turned the tide of the war. The Council could no longer ignore humanity as a serious power. Counselor Varek and Thaler were forced to negotiate. The humans had demonstrated that brute force alone could not defeat them. Strategy, intelligence, and teamwork had proven superior. The Council recognized that Earth had become a major power in the galaxy, capable of shaping its future. Sumin and his team received messages of congratulations from Earth. The planet celebrated their triumph, proud that humans had achieved what many thought impossible. Jia, Minkyu, and Hanul shared a quiet moment on the bridge, knowing that their efforts had changed the galaxy forever. With the council weakened, the humans established a new era of diplomacy and cooperation. Alien species began to see Earth not as a primitive world, but as a strategic and powerful force. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Humans were clever, adaptable, and not to be underestimated. Captain Sumin looked at the stars, reflecting on the journey. The battles had been hard, but every challenge had strengthened humanity's position. The galaxy's illusions of power had been shattered, and a new era had begun. Humans had arrived, not as a minor species, but as a force capable of commanding respect and shaping the future. The fleet moved forward, ready for whatever new challenges awaited, knowing that Earth's courage, ingenuity, and determination would guide them through the stars.